Hello and welcome to this Automation Academy Mastering the Machine webinar for the 20th of January 2024. Today's topic was the Mastering the Machine workshops that I've been holding for the last 2 weeks and my upcoming visit to Automation Direct down in Atlanta. Hope you enjoy it. Good morning and welcome to the 69th episode of the Automation Academy's Mastering the Machine webinars. I have been doing this for about 3 years, a little bit over 3 years, since 2020. And this happens to be the lucky 69th episode. I understand 69 for some reason is a lucky number because people seem to reference it a lot. In any case, today's episode is about the Mastering the Machine workshops that I've been holding for the last 2 weeks or so, and an upcoming trip to Automation Direct down in Atlanta that I'm going to be making Tuesday. Have a meeting with some of the folks down there, hoping to talk about some maybe cooperative efforts and show them my books and things like that. Talk about my workshops and training opportunities, things of that sort. In any case, what is the Automation Academy? It is a website that I created during the COVID episode. Didn't have a lot else to do, so I started doing a lot of online work after a tornado tore up my facility, and ended up having to work from home for a while before moving into my current place. And then COVID hit, of course, and so I was really kind of stuck at home, decided to build this website. It has a whole lot of training videos and things like that for Allen Bradley, Siemens, Beckhoff, Omron, coming up on some Automation Direct videos. Haven't created those yet, but I do have both the productivity and the click platforms, and maybe we'll do some stuff on some of their other platforms also. We'll see how that goes. Do have some job and aptitude assistance, systems integration topics, lots of things on sensors and communications, etc. Excerpts from my books, etc. A library of training and technical documents. A community that rarely gets visited by anybody, IO Central, but it does have a lot of groups and things like that, interest groups on it. And if you go there to IO Central, which is under the Automation LLC website, IO Central, you will find that there. In any case, enough about that. So about, I would say, a month ago, I decided to do these workshops, and these workshops are really training classes, but I made them customized to where anybody could study any topic and that sort of thing. It was kind of an experiment. I had a potential customer at the time who wanted to study a little bit of everything. They had seen the Automation NTH website, and they thought that was a really neat idea where you could learn PLCs and CAD and HMIs and SCADA and lots of programming topics, panel building, etc., and kind of wanted to take that. And so they approached me through NTH, and eventually we did settle on holding these workshops, creating a class for that purpose. So he did sign up, and he came out for part of the class, and then I had a couple other people from an existing customer come out, and they also took the class. And I said 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. I think it worked out more like I would be in about 7:30 in the morning, and sometimes people would come in and we would go until 5:30 or 6 o'clock at night. So I didn't really hold to the specific time frame of that, but the pricing of it is very similar to what you would get for a normal class. If you took a Siemens or Allen Bradley class or Omron or something like that from Automation Training or some of the other vendors in the area, it comes out to about $600 a day per person. And I do give discounts if multiple people come from the same company. So I did that here also. And you can see all the different topics that I have available here that people can study. And this is really based on the hardware and the software that I have at my facility. And so that's kind of what I based it on. So I also kind of created this little graphic. It kind of illustrates the point that we learn basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? That's the basic stuff we learn in high school, junior high, et cetera, primary schools. And then we move on to topics of special study. And there's a big emphasis on STEM or STEAM, that sort of thing. And so people do study, electricity, electronics, sometimes in high school, a little bit of logic, maybe chemistry. So these could be advanced courses in high school on that second tier. And then you start getting into control systems and automation, and that's where you need to learn some things before you get into PLCs. For instance, if you're using PLCs to control things, it's a good idea to know about the things you're controlling. So fluid power, motors, sensors. So I put those on the third tier. Communications, because all these devices talk to each other. What are digital and analog? And then up on the next tier, I talk about, motion control, numbering systems, things like that. All these are prerequisites to getting into some of the different topics like PLCs and DCSs and things like that. Then you go into more advanced topics. People get into SCADA, the difference between process control and machine control. And we touched on a lot of those topics during this webinar. During this workshop. So this was a 2-week workshop, and we typically will be only doing these for 1 week a month. But this first one did last for the full 2 weeks that I advertised before. So in preparation for this was stuff that I did to my workshop in preparation. December 9th, I emptied out this extra room I had. I epoxied the floor. And this is kind of what it looked like. And then I moved some of my toolboxes and things from home, moved my small mill. You can see that down here at the bottom. Put some pegboard all along the walls and got things prepared. And not exactly in preparation for this, but I did buy a 3D printer, and that's a different adventure. We'll be talking about Bamboo Labs 3D printing. And I have printed a few things. You can kind of see some pictures here. I also talked about this during the last webinar, so I'm not going to go into any of that. This is what my facility looked like, I would say, at the start of the workshops. I do have this electronics room. I cleaned it up and organized it as well as I could. Have some, Raspberry Pi, Arduino. You can see an oscilloscope here, things like that. Organized a lot of my electronics and parts, put a lot of these trainers and things up on the wall. And of course, we dug them out and put them on the tables while we were working on things. A lot of these PLCs and things, I moved into that big main room. And then, of course, we have a kitchen here, which turned out to come in really handy because it snowed. It snowed quite a bit here for Nashville. We got about, I think, 7 inches here, and then we got more ice and things like that. So we ended up eating in a lot of the days. So we did have 3 people at the webinar. The first week, I'm not showing a picture of that person. He was the one who originally set this up. He's a very kind of privacy-minded person, so I'm not putting his picture everywhere. But the other guys didn't mind. They are from a customer of mine in Miami. They work for a beverage company, and they wanted to learn a little bit of everything, just like this other guy did. You can see we did 2 full weeks of this at the table with trainers and things. The previous guy that originally signed up did hook up this motor. We bought a little drive, Ethernet IP drive, connected up to an Allen Bradley PLC. We talked about EDS files and how to make things talk and how to program. We did a whole lot of programming on Allen Bradley, both 500 and 5000. Siemens, both Step 7 and TI Portal. It was a very busy 2 weeks, and I kind of let people, we worked on whatever people wanted to work on. And then at the end, people got a certificate, and they do get a full year's membership to the Automation Academy, which is, again, my online resource. We took a field trip, and I'm going to see if anybody can tell what this is doing. You can see it move. I don't know if you can hear it or anything, but we did take a field trip to Automation NTH. The original guy wanted to meet Scott, the guy who runs Automation NTH University, where I do some contracting. And so we went and looked at one of their little trade show machines. This is pretty cool. It inserts, I forget what they call it. It's basically a needle into a little caplet thing, plastic thing, and it's very delicate work. And they use this for trade shows and things, but that was part of our field trip. We went ahead and filmed that and kind of talked about that. But anyway, that was kind of what the Mastering the Machine workshops were all about. Lots of study, lots of different topics. Let's see if I got anything else. Oh, that's mostly about the Automation Direct trip. So we covered all the topics that I have in this list pretty well. We at least addressed everything. Automation NTH does not cover probably the things at the very highest level here. They do SCADA, they do HMIs. They really don't do a lot of industrial Internet of Things, or electronic level things. So we did talk quite a bit about that. One of the guys here is really was an expert at board level electronics repair, microprocessors, that sort of thing. So we kind of got off on that track a little bit with him, talked about some possibilities. We did discuss machine learning and AI, mostly in terms of machine vision. Didn't really get into databases, but we did touch on probably most of these topics, partially because I know the guys at American Beverage Depot really well. So I could talk about the things that they have in their plant. And we talked in particular about some of their processes and the programs that are in there, looked at some of the programs, et cetera. But anyway, that's kind of what we did. Another thing that was a little bit complex here, these two guys are native Spanish speakers. So we had to kind of fight our way through language issues. They mentioned, wow, maybe they should find some of these topics online in Spanish so they can understand them better. And that's probably true. And we also discussed turning my maintenance and troubleshooting book into Spanish. And I know the owner in that plant really well. And he has translated some of my books in the past into Spanish for his own people. And we may do that. The guy here on the left, he's from Cuba. He's the electronics expert. And this guy on the right is an IT expert. He knows a lot about computers and programming, things like that. So these guys made a really good pair, and they were able to help each other out quite a bit in Spanish and things. But yeah, I just kind of presented the material the best I could, learned a little Spanish on the way. And then at the end of the class, of course, they got a little certificate here, and they're going to have a full year membership to the Automation Academy. So that's kind of what the workshops are about. We already have 5 people signed up for the next one. We don't know if it's going to be in February or March yet, but that particular one will be that full week, and they're from a local company here. They're really looking for a lot of PLC training. I don't know specifically on what topics, but we're going to go ahead and make that the Mastering the Machine workshop for either February or March. So already filling these things up. They are, as I mentioned, $600 a day per person. I do give a discount if more than one person from the same company comes. One of the guys that signed up for this, like I said, he paid his own way, and I feel sorry for people who have to do that. Cost him, $3,000 for a week, and then he also had to pay for a hotel and travel to here. People who do that are very, very serious about learning things, obviously. So he stayed for the first week, and then the other 2 guys, all 3 were there the first week, and then the other 2 guys just stayed were there for the second week and the first week. So that's a little bit about the workshops themselves. Now, Automation Direct. So I did contact them partially because I have a book that is a generic book on PLCs. It was the first PLC book I wrote, and I purposely made it, tried to apply it to all PLCs rather than concentrating on Allen Bradley or Siemens or something like that. I tried to cover, here's how bits and timers and counters and math and things like that work. Oh, by the way, the addressing structure on all these platforms are completely different. And then there's tag-based platforms, which are completely different from the register-based platforms. I teach a lot of Siemens, and that's a hard one for people to get a handle on sometimes because all the registers, and then every platform is different. So I decided to redo that book in terms of Automation Direct PLCs. And one of the reasons for this is, for those of you attending from another country, Automation Direct is a company that actually sprang, it was used to be called PLC Direct, and it sprang out of the Koyo PLC platform. And Koyo used to make PLCs for Siemens. They made the Somatic 300 for GE. The TI 300 came from Koyo. So they were manufacturing PLCs for a lot of different companies, Texas Instruments and Siemens, GE, and their own brands. And so PLC Direct was formed here as a mail order company originally to ship those Koyo PLCs, which were less expensive than the Allen Bradleys and the Siemens, things like that, here in the United States. And they started with mostly just PLCs, but they've grown quite a bit. Rather than being mail order, of course, now they're online. And you can order literally any automation component you can think of, just about, is there. They even carry pneumatics and extrusion. I order a lot of my pneumatic knickknacks and small push buttons, things like that, relays. They have a little bit of everything. Very good online seller. But back in 2014, I took a trip there. I met Tim Homan. This is the guy who started PLC Direct and Automation Direct down in Atlanta. And I contacted them again about this book and about my workshops and training. They seem to be somewhat interested. So I'm going down there on Tuesday to have a meeting with some of the folks there at Automation Direct. And I would love to work closely with them on some things. One is simply republish the PLC hardware and programming multi-platform book with a little more of an emphasis on Automation Direct. Couple reasons. One, they have two software platforms that are free. Both have simulators. So you can write a program and test it right on the software and not pay anything. So if you want to learn, that's a great way to learn. In addition, the Click platform, the PLCs can be had for as little as about 70 to 80 bucks. There just really isn't much of a cheaper PLC than that, other than Arduino based things and maybe some code assist, free practice and things like that. So I've kind of decided to, I don't know if I'm going to title it like Automation Direct rather than multi-platform, or if I'm going to include some things like code assist, which also you can practice for free by getting Beckhoff software. I like the Beckhoff software also for simulation, but it's way, way harder to learn than the Automation Direct software. So I'm emphasizing the Click and the productivity platforms, Click being register-based, productivity being tag-based. So it's a great way to learn those platforms without having to buy hardware yet. Play with the software, and then eventually maybe get an inexpensive PLC. They have some good kits. And while you're at it, hey, get some push buttons and some relays, and maybe buy one of my trainer kits, right? I make trainer kits where you can build your own enclosure and, buy a bag of push buttons and wire and things like that. And I have a little book out on building your own trainer kit. So I'm hoping to maybe work with them. By the way, this picture, if you're wondering about the background, Tim Homan's office is pretty amazing. It looks like it's kind of a takeoff from the Starship Enterprise or Star Wars or something. All his walls are black like this with a spaceship theme, and this guy melting into the wall. It was really cool. And so got a picture with him back then, back when I was 10 years younger. I'm an old guy now. So anyway, that is kind of what this was all about. Going down there Tuesday. I'll be talking about this probably during the next webinar, which will be on February 10th. That's about 3 weeks from now. I think I'm just going to make the topic the Automation Academy, because by then I will have made a lot of changes. We'll probably have more videos and things like that. Maybe we'll have firmed up what I'm going to do about the Automation Direct material and things like that. But that's mostly all I had to say today, talking a little bit about, my workshops here worked out well, except for the snow. Like I said, we were kind of ice in the driveway. Umberto here, the guy in the back, had never seen snow before. He's from Cuba and lived in Miami, and he has been, I think, to Colorado once, but there wasn't snow there while he was there. So he got to build a snowman, send pictures and videos to his son, which was really cool. His son, of course, has never seen snow either. So Humberto got as much snow as he would ever want. Uh, so that was the result of this. These guys had a really good time. We did get to go out into Nashville on last Saturday and hang out downtown and look at the shops and get some souvenirs and things before the big snowstorm hit on Monday. Snow and ice kind of hit everywhere. But any case, that is it for the webinar today. Thanks for those who showed up. Are there any questions from anybody, or before I sign out here? I see a couple people attending. I'll check the chat. Nothing there. Maybe everybody else is snowed in too. I don't know kind of what's up today, but in any case, yeah, I'm wearing my cold weather gear. It's about 8 degrees outside here, cold. I know those of you who live up in the Northeast and then Midwest, you're probably laughing at me for being all snowed in this week, but we did get 7 inches, and it was, 0 degrees minus wind chills and all that kind of stuff. So it was pretty cold this week. And of course, for my Miami friends, it was really cold. My other guest, the first week, the guy who attended the first week, drove back to Virginia on Saturday. So he wanted to escape, get back before the snow hit. And it's probably a good thing he did, because the roads would have been really bad. But, well, thanks for hanging out. Anybody who showed up, I can't see everybody. I can see a couple people on here. I only see one name. Thomas, how you doing? Not sure if that's Thomas Catalina or a different Thomas, but great seeing everybody, and we'll see you all next time.